Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And I'm so grateful and thankful and appreciative to be before you this evening. If you are new, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like and comment. Today is a glorious day. It's a beautiful Wednesday, July 23rd. The weather was perfect today, I would say, after having a summer filled with very rainy, muggy, humid days. Today, the weather was just near perfect. It felt like spring, sunny. And, we give thanks for each and every day, but we needed a break from the humidity. And so I'm really thankful, grateful, and appreciative that we had that today. The weather was just absolutely gorgeous. Um, Low humidity. Please put a comment in the comment section where you are and what's the weather like where you are, because we know across the country there has been some adverse weather in some places, and some very extreme weather in some others. And so we're just grateful and appreciative for what we have on beautiful days like this where it's sunny and low humidity and just perfect all the way around. So thank you, everyone. I wanted to share that. And so Dia is in the chat. Hey, welcome, sweetheart. I'm happy to hear from you. And where are you hailing from? What area are you in? You can just put the state. You don't have to put the city. And while she's typing, we're going to go ahead and move forward. So, Marilyn, okay, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm not too far from you. So, tonight's topic is we are electrical vibrational beings. And that is tonight's topic. I hope to cover it all tonight. If not, I may make it a two-part series. But tonight we're going to talk about what makes us the electrical vibrational beings that we are. And we have talked about knowledge for self several times here on my channel, and also when I was on Plugged In Radio Network, we also did a series on that. And we're going to be talking about all the things that make us who we really are, our true essence, our true nature. And our true nature is that of vibrational beings. We are so much more than our physical bodies. There's so much more to the world than what is physically present in front of us. Yes, the material world is real and it's authentic, but it's just one part of all that is and what we are. Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking about that and exploring. Um, what makes us alive is the energy, that electrical force within us. This is our spirit or energy. And everything that is alive has this energy or this essence. And energy and spirit to me are the same thing. It's just um spirit is just another, to me, another word for energy. And everything that's alive has this essence, this energy, this force within it, if you will. The plants, the animals, the insects, um the crystals in the earth, all of it has it, because it all works to some degree, well, in many degrees, synergistically together. For example, um, a lot of electronic devices have quartz crystal in it, and it helps with, you know, whatever. I mean, I had to look up the actual science behind it, but all of the electronic devices, watches, have quartz in it. These things power the machines in some way. So there's some kind of essence to it. It may not be the same life form or the same kind of essence that we see and observe in people in animals, but it's there. They've done lots of research on, things like crystals, like rubbing them together and they create sparks, or just the energy that they generate. They do generate energy. So in order for them to generate energy, they have to have some kind of energy within them. The same is true of people, plants, animals. We all are living, sentient, thriving beings. We are here. We all had a capacity to reproduce in some way. We also have the ability to um, just grow and thrive and function. And, you know, life is a continuous cyclical event. It's not just a start and a stop. And so all of us are those electrical vibrational beings. The plants are alive, they're electrical. They have done so much research that plants and animals respond to our emotions, certain frequencies. The animals are aware when certain natural phenomenon is about to take place, like if an earthquake is coming or a tornado or other events. The animals are aware of that because of the energy that they're able to sense. People often tell me, cats have the ability to see spirits, or cats have certain mystical abilities. People say, dogs and other animals can sense things, but what is it that the other animals are? What are they sensing? They're sensing the frequency and the vibration from something that is alive. And children, even before they start to talk, they kind of have a sense when something's not right, or what kind of person to avoid. Like they tell you, like if little children or toddlers are scared of someone, or they don't want to be around someone, you got to watch that, because they have that ability to discern or to feel. But what they're feeling is the vibration, the energy that is generated from a living being or person. So that is what makes us alive, that electrical, that energetic force that's within us. This is also, our spirit, and everything that is living has a spirit. They've also done research that, water is alive and responds to our thoughts and our feelings and the frequency of our emotions. They've done experiments with plants, how plants respond to the words that we say, or if we they did an experiment one time where they put two plants together, and the person killed unalived one of the plants, and the other one actually had a response that could be measured. So everything is alive, and has this energy or this electrical force. It's all connected. um our spiritual senses, is what helps us stay connected and aware of our connection to um, all that is, and it helps us stay connected to the non physical world. We have the five senses: to see, to taste, to smell, to touch, to hear. Those are our physical senses, but we also have spiritual senses. And those senses help us to be aware of things that are beyond the physical, things that are not easily perceived by the naked eye. And some people's spiritual senses are more highly developed than others, and that's fine because it's different for different people. And those spiritual senses, or those is what helps us be aware of energy. Like that sense that you feel in your gut that something's not right, or your hair may stand up on the back of your neck or your arm under certain circumstances. um, Being able to see into other dimensions, having, spiritual experiences, having mystical experiences, being able to communicate with um, beings in other realms, or whatever, having that sixth sense, precognition, whatever you want to call it, ESP. All of those things are different forms of different all of those are different forms of our spiritual senses, which helps us be aware of and helps us connect to the other aspects of ourselves, the spiritual aspects of ourselves. It helps us stay connected to the trees, plants, the animal, the elements, the crystal kingdom, and the cosmos itself. Nature is so powerful, and I talk about it a lot in my videos because I myself have had so many healing, beneficial experiences from being in nature, and I've seen it happen for other people. So, practice connecting to nature as you harmonize and seek balance in it. That will help you be um, more aware of the vibrational electrical being that you are as you connect to other electrical beings. Many of us have lost their many people have lost their connection to nature, and to other people, and they've just forgotten that every living thing has a spirit. Every living thing is alive and has an intelligence. Even the insects and things that we see around us, and plants, how plants actually will lean towards the sun, or um they've studied that the root system of trees act like the synapses in our nervous system, and like the trees actually communicate across large areas to each other through their root system. And so all of these are examples of how all of this is alive and vibrating, and all of this is connected on a higher level than we've been taught. Many of us have been taught to just focus on the physical and the physical aspect of the world, and we've been taught to use other living things for our benefit, but not a mutual sharing relationship, which is not in the best interest of all that's involved. Because if you're using something and not sharing, or if it's not a mutual relationship, it's going to be imbalance, one-sided, and in some ways very selfish. And so that is not the kind of relationship that we want to have with nature and with the world that we're in. We want to have a relationship that is mutually beneficial, synergistic, give and take, and sharing. um, Many of us talk about how our ancestors used to live in harmony with nature and had this loving bond with the natural world, and this loving bond and communication with the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, or whatever. So that is what we want, and is the best for all the living beings in any kind of system or ecosystem, is when it's a mutual relationship and partnership. And that is something that comes through growth and understanding and mindfulness and developing our spiritual senses as we connect to other spiritual beings around us. Nature helps us with that in so many ways. It helps us learn about energy, it helps us learn about vibrations. Um, Many of us have lost that connection to our own frequency and spirit. And so, with not knowing your own frequency and your own spirit, you may not be connected to the natural world around you and others. So, nature helps you find that, it helps you remember it. Sitting in nature, observing the rhythm and the flow, in the natural world, observing the cycles of Earth's time and frequencies, all of that teach us about our own true nature, because we are nature. Nature is a part of us. And as we observe these things and connect with them, we see more of the balance and harmony that exists. And that will in turn teach us where our role is in that maintaining that balance and maintaining that harmony. um so like I said, we are a part of nature, and we should observe and follow those patterns and those cycles that we see, so that we can gain that that sense of balance and that sense of knowing who we are and our role, our place in the natural world. Another thing is that helps us recognize and maintain that we are vibrational beings is our bodies are alive, just like the earth is alive. Mother Earth is a good example of a living entity. She's alive, and she supports life, and she nurtures and um maintains life. And so our bodies are pretty much the same. We're living bodies, and living bodies need living food and living water in order to thrive and be healthy. So eating denatured, heavily processed, toxic foods that can actually dull your spiritual senses and make you more disconnected from them. And then when you see other beings as just something to consume for your own benefit, that also can dull your spiritual senses, when you don't see that there's a connection to them, and how to make healthier, more sustainable, and more equitable choices when it comes to what you're consuming and how you're giving back to the planet. Or if you're farming or eating in a way that supports healthy, equitable, sustainable food systems, or are you just a consumer? So all of this helps us be more aware of who we are and our place in the world. And living bodies have to have living foods in order to survive. You cannot eat food that is dull and lifeless and not life-giving, because it won't sustain you, it won't nurture you. And definitely you cannot consume water that has no minerals and no oxygen in it, because it would also be toxic and dangerous. So as electrical vibrational beings, we are connected to all living things, including the planet, and the cosmos. um the earth is alive, it's a living entity, and we can connect to her. The gentle hum of her heartbeat is present for all of us to connect to. We just have to be willing to receive and willing to connect. You can connect to any living being and feel this energy, and they can feel yours. The elemental spirits, the nature spirits, angelic beings, the ancestors, and all can connect to you, communicate with you, and are present in our lives. um if Just give it a try. Like, go out into nature, spend some time walking in the forest, do some earthing exercises. Take your shoes off, try lying on the ground, try hugging a tree. um Gardening. Gardening is one of my favorite things, and it teaches you. You actually see, so you learn a lot about life when you're gardening, because it starts with the soil. The soil is alive, it's full of nutrients. It's has all kinds of organisms and microorganisms in it, and biodiversity in the soil. And then you put your seeds in, and when you plant the seeds the soil and the rainwater work together synergistically to start germinating your seeds, and you'll start to see, and when you start seeing them grow and sprout, excuse me, that is very exciting. And watching something that started as a tiny seed grow into a large plant that produces many um, fruit. For example, if you take, you know, a seed, a grain of corn, and plant it, it not only does it produce a stalk um, of corn, but several ears will be on it with multiple seeds. Because when we eat corn, you're actually eating the seed. So one little seed can produce that plant that has, maybe potentially hundreds of seeds. So all of that shows you just how vibrant and how alive that the plants and the rest of the world is. I think that many of us are longing for these connections to other vibrational beings, and longing to energize those vibrations within ourselves. That's why movies like the Avatar, the one that came out in 2009, the second one, the Avatar, The Way of Water, the movie The Last Airbender, some nature films are also popular. I can't think of all of them right now, but those are the ones that come off the top of my head. And those films were, a glimpse into cultures and societies who honored where they lived, and honored their ancestors, and felt very connected to they felt very connected to their world, and very connected to each other, and they did a lot of things to honor the natural world and to acknowledge it. And I think that made a big difference in a lot of things. And not only did it make a big difference, I think that's what attracted a lot of people to that, because in this modern technologically advancing world that we live in, a lot of times we forget how important um, elements of nature are, and we forget that everything is alive and is not just here for our disposal, but these are living beings and entities. And a lot of times we focus so much on the modern way of life, working, some of us, barely have time for socializing and connecting with family. And we forget that we are more than just physical. There's so much focus on the physicality, what you look like, what your body's shaped like, what you have, things like that. But really, it's the essence of the person, and the true essence of your soul. You can work on the outer appearance as much as you want to, which is great, because that's honoring, the divine body temple. But what about who you are on the inside, and what your spirit is? That's really what matters, because you are what you think, you are what you carry into practice. And let's work a little bit more on focusing on developing the spirit that dwells within, and focusing on that and raising our vibration. When you hear people say raise your vibration, that means raising your energy level to a higher level. And I really encourage all of us to think about that, especially in this time period that we're living in, because we're constantly being bombarded with so much negativity and toxicity around us. And we want to be that person that raises the vibration and raises the consciousness. We want to be that light in the darkness. If you can't find the light, then be that light. You can raise the vibration with your thoughts and with your actions and your behavior. Don't go along with the group think. Just because everybody's doing something, doesn't make it right. Just because everybody's telling you something, that doesn't make it fact, and it doesn't make it right if you feel in your heart that it's not. So be aware, be mindful of who we are and what you are and whose you are. Be very mindful of that. And remember, family, you always have the ability to change your circumstances by raising your vibration, raising your thinking, raising your energy levels. If you're in a toxic situation, surrounded by toxic people, you can raise yourself out of it, raise up out of that. And that is um, how you raise your vibration and your frequency to be the vibrant electrical being that you were meant to be. So remember, family, we have inherited a lot of misinformation and toxic behaviors in the past. So go easy on yourself as you remember this, that you are clearing thousands of years of outdated conditioning as we continue to grow and elevate and raise our vibrations together. So, with that, I end tonight with love, peace, prosperity, good health, and freedom to you all. Look forward to seeing you next time. Peace and great blessings.